The forbidden touch. The crystalline spires of Veloria pierced the violet sky like frozen lightning, each surface refracting the light of 3 distant suns. Ryan Altair stood at the palace gates, smoothing his diplomatic robes with hands that betrayed his nervousness. 5 years of border skirmishes between humans and Celestrians had led to this moment, a final chance at peace. The throne room took his breath away. Walls of living crystal pulsed with soft luminescence, and floating platforms drifted like lily pads on an invisible current. But it was the figure on the central dais that commanded his attention completely. Queen Xylith Elian rose with fluid grace, and Ryan understood immediately why she was called the Radiant Terror. She stood nearly a head taller than him, her skin shimmering with patterns that flowed like Aurora Borealis, currently deep purple and silver, shifting constantly. Her eyes held galaxies, and her presence filled the vast chamber. Human envoy. Her voice resonated like crystal singing. You arrive with words of peace, yet your people continue to encroach on our border systems. Ryan bowed, keeping his voice steady. Your Majesty, I come with genuine proposals. Perhaps we might discuss. The palace shuddered violently. Alarms shrieked through the crystalline halls. A massive energy storm, rare but devastating, was forming directly above them. Through the transparent ceiling, Ryan saw reality itself twisting, purple lightning arcing between the spires. The storm shields, someone shouted. But the ancient protective barriers flickered and failed. Ryan watched in horror as a massive crystalline pillar cracked, tons of living stone beginning to fall directly toward where Xylith stood, frozen in shock at the sudden betrayal of her own palace. He didn't think. His body moved on pure instinct, launching himself across the distance, tackling her away from the impact zone. They hit the floor hard, his body covering hers protectively. The pillar shattered where she'd stood moments before, sending fragments flying. One shard sliced across his shoulder, but he barely felt it. All he could feel was the strange warmth where their skin made contact, her luminous arm against his, their faces inches apart. The world seemed to pause. Where they touched, golden light erupted, spreading across both their bodies in intricate patterns. Ryan gasped as something profound and terrifying flooded through him. Memories that weren't his, emotions vast as space itself, and an awareness of Xylith that went beyond anything he'd ever experienced with another being. Her eyes widened, patterns on her skin blazing from purple to brilliant gold. What is this? The light faded as quickly as it appeared. Ryan rolled away, breathing hard, his shoulder bleeding but forgotten. Palace guards rushed forward, helping their queen to stand, shooting suspicious glances at the human who dared to touch her. Xylith stood shakily, one hand pressed to her chest. Her skin patterns swirled chaotically, gold, silver, purple, colors Ryan instinctively knew represented confusion, fear, and something else he couldn't name. "Leave us," she commanded, her voice unsteady. The guards hesitated. "Now." As the throne room emptied, she turned to face him fully. "What did you do to me, human?" "I don't know," Ryan answered honestly, still feeling the echo of their connection humming in his blood. I couldn't let you die." Her luminous patterns settled into deep silver, the color, he somehow knew, of profound uncertainty. She looked at him with new eyes, no longer seeing just an enemy diplomat, but something far more complicated. "You saved my life," she said quietly, the admission clearly difficult. "And in doing so, you may have changed everything." The revelation. 3 weeks had passed since the energy storm, and Ryan remained in Veloria as negotiations continued. But the talks had become secondary to something neither he nor Xylith could explain. He felt her presence constantly now, a warm awareness at the edge of his consciousness. Sometimes he woke knowing she was troubled, other times he sensed her nearby before she appeared. The palace healers had examined them both multiple times, finding nothing wrong yet everything changed. Ryan's blood now carried traces of luminescence. Xylith's energy patterns had developed new configurations no Celestrian had ever displayed. Tonight, unable to sleep, Ryan wandered the moonlit gardens where crystalline flowers bloomed with their own soft light. He sensed her approach before he heard her footsteps. "You feel it too," Xylith said, not a question. She wore simple robes rather than her formal regalia, and her patterns glowed gentle amber, a color he'd learned meant vulnerability. "Every moment," Ryan admitted, turning to face her. It's like you're always there, just beyond reach. I know when you're happy, when you're afraid, when you're... When I think of you, she finished softly, moving closer. The garden's light cast dancing shadows across her luminous skin. My healers are concerned. My energy signature has changed in ways they don't understand. What do they say? She looked away, her patterns flickering through rapid color changes. Uncertainty, fear, wonder. They say it's impossible. That what they're detecting cannot be. Xylith, what is it? She met his eyes, and he saw something there he'd never expected to see from the fearsome queen. Tears, glowing like liquid starlight. I carry a radiance child, Ryan. A being that can only exist through the Lumini bond, the merging of two life essences so complete they create something new. The words struck him like physical force. A child? But we barely touched. The Lumini bond hasn't occurred in 10,000 years, her voice trembled. It was thought to be legend. When two beings from different worlds are meant for each other, true soul pairs, their first contact can trigger it. The ancient texts say it chooses those who will change destiny. Ryan's mind reeled. A child. With her. The political ramifications alone could shatter both their worlds. But beneath the fear, something else stirred, something profound and right. That's why you've been avoiding me, he said quietly. Why you've held every council meeting remotely. I didn't know how to face you. She wrapped her arms around herself. This shouldn't be possible. I'm a queen. You're human. Our people are barely at peace. And now... He stepped closer, drawn by that invisible thread connecting them. And now there's a child. The council will demand I end this, she whispered. They'll call it contamination. An abomination. They'll want you executed to break the bond. Can it be broken? Her patterns flashed deep crimson. Pain. Only by death. The Lumini bond is eternal. They stood in charged silence, the weight of impossible choices pressing down on them. Then Xylith did something that shocked them both. She reached out and took his hand. The connection blazed to life instantly. Golden light wrapped around their intertwined fingers, and Ryan felt the full force of what existed between them. Not just a mystical bond, but genuine emotion. He felt her loneliness, the crushing weight of her crown, her desperate desire to do right by her people. And beneath it all, something fragile and new, her feelings for him. I feel you, she breathed, tears flowing freely now. Everything you are. Your kindness, your fear, your strength, he answered, his own voice rough with emotion. Your dedication. The way you carry the weight of an empire alone. The way you care so deeply you hide it behind ice. She pulled him closer, until barely a breath separated them. Her patterns glowed brilliant gold, joy, desire, hope. This is madness. We barely know each other. I know you better than I've known anyone, he countered, his free hand rising to cup her face. Her skin was warm, humming with energy beneath his palm. The bond showed me your heart. And you don't run from what you saw. I run toward it. She closed the final distance between them, her lips meeting his in a kiss that sent shockwaves of light rippling outward through the garden. Every crystal flower blazed brighter, responding to the surge of their combined energy. Ryan felt her completely, her fear, her longing, her desperate hope that somehow this impossible situation could become something beautiful. When they finally parted, both were breathless. Her patterns cycled through colors he'd never seen, creating new shades that perhaps had never existed before. What are we going to do? She asked, her forehead resting against his. Face it together, Ryan said firmly. Whatever comes, we face it together. She laughed, the sound breaking and beautiful. Together. I've been alone so long, I'd forgotten what that word meant. They held each other in the moonlit garden, knowing the storm approaching would make the energy tempest seem gentle by comparison. The gathering storm. The High Council chamber felt more like a courtroom. 12 Celestian nobles sat in judgment, their collective disapproval making the air itself feel heavy. Xylith sat on her throne, patterns locked into royal purple, the color of authority she wore like armor. Ryan stood beside her, a position that had already caused gasps and outraged whispers. "This is an outrage." Council Elder Thaction slammed his crystalline staff against the floor. A human beside the throne? The Lumini bond is a myth being used to excuse contamination. The healers have confirmed it. Xylitha's voice cut like ice. The bond is real. The child is real. Then sever it, another council member shouted. Ancient law is clear. No ruler may bond with an outsider species. The bloodline must remain pure. Ryan felt Xylitha's pain like a knife through his own chest. Their bond had grown so strong her emotions hit him with full force. He squeezed her hand subtly, lending her strength. The ancient law was written before the Lumini bond was understood, Xylith countered. Before we knew such connections even existed. Then we adapt the law, Thaction said coldly. Execute the human. End the pregnancy. Purify yourself according to the old rites. Resume your duties unburdened by this mistake. The word struck them both. Ryan felt rage building, his and hers intermingled until he couldn't tell them apart. My child is not a mistake, Xylith stood, and every light in the chamber responded to her fury, blazing bright enough to make the council members shield their eyes. And you will not threaten Ryan's life in my presence again. Then you choose him over your people. Thaction challenged. Over your crown? Over everything your lineage has built. The chamber fell silent. Every eye fixed on their queen, waiting. Xylitha's patterns shifted through complex sequences: duty, love, fear, determination. Finally, they settled on brilliant gold. I choose truth. The Lumini bond doesn't make mistakes. If it chose us, there's a reason beyond our understanding. I will not destroy that out of fear. Then you leave us no choice. Thaction's expression was stone. The council votes to remove you from power until you comply. Guards. Don't. The single word from Xylith froze everyone in place. If you attempt to take me or harm Ryan, you'll discover exactly how powerful a bonded queen can be. Ryan felt it too, the surge of energy flowing between them, amplifying exponentially. His human resilience combined with her celestian power created something that made the very air crackle. They left the council chamber together, walking through corridors that whispered with scandal. Servants averted their eyes. Nobles pulled back as if their love was contagious. Only when they reached Xylitha's private chambers did she finally allow herself to break. I've lost them, she whispered, collapsing onto her balcony overlooking the city. My people. My council. Everything I've worked for. Ryan wrapped his arms around her from behind, and she leaned into him gratefully. You stood for what was right. For us. For our child. A child who will be hunted from birth, she said bitterly. What kind of life can we offer? A life filled with love, he murmured against her hair. That's more than many beings ever know. She turned in his arms, her luminous eyes searching his face. How can you be so calm? They want you dead. Because I have you. Because when I hold you like this, nothing else matters. He kissed her forehead, her cheeks, finally her lips. I never expected to find this. Someone who sees all of me and doesn't turn away. Her patterns glowed soft pink, the color he'd learned meant deep affection. In my world, everything is duty and appearance. But with you, I can just be. They stood on the balcony as 3 suns set, painting the sky in impossible colors. Below, the city buzzed with news of their queen's defiance. Above, stars began to emerge, ancient and eternal. There's a place, Xylith said quietly. The star caves beneath the palace. Only the royal line knows of them. If we need to disappear. You'd give up your throne? Your home? She cupped his face in her glowing hands. I would give up everything for you. For our child. For the chance to build something real instead of carrying on a legacy built on fear and separation. Then we prepare, Ryan decided. Quietly. We gather what we need. And if they force our hand. We run, she finished. Together. That night, they made love for the first time, a slow, reverent exploration of each other. Her skin glowed brighter with each touch, patterns flowing like living art across her body. Ryan traced them with his fingers, his lips, learning to read her pleasure in the language of light. She discovered the warmth of human skin, the differences and similarities that made their union feel both foreign and perfectly right. Afterward, they lay entwined in her vast bed, her head on his chest, his fingers trailing through her luminous hair. "I love you," she whispered, the words clearly new and frightening to her. "I don't know when it happened, but it's true." "I love you too," he answered, tightening his hold on her. "From the moment I saw you, I think. Everything since has just been falling deeper." Outside, the city slept. But in the council chambers, plans were being made. Plans that would force Xylith and Ryan to flee into the darkness, seeking sanctuary in ancient caverns where the truth of their bond, and their child, would finally be revealed. The test of unity. The investigation into the sabotage revealed uncomfortable truths. In Councillor Thane's private study, Jeren and Savara stood before a holographic display showing evidence of the attack, traced back to members of the KRYX faction, extremists who believed in species separation. "They wanted to create chaos during the summit," Thane explained, his luminescence dim with exhaustion, "to prove that integration leads to vulnerability." He looked at Jeren with new respect. Instead, a human helped save Luminari lives. "The irony isn't lost on me." "Father, this proves what I've been saying," Savara pressed. "Different worlds, different skills. Together we're stronger." "Perhaps." Thane's gaze softened. "The Council meets tomorrow to vote on the new cooperation accords. After today's events, your bond might actually help sway opinions rather than hinder them. But the KOIX will fight harder now." After they left, Savara guided Jeren to her private quarters, a space filled with floating lights that responded to her emotions, currently swirling in agitated patterns. She moved to the wide window overlooking the city, her shoulders tense. Jeren came up behind her, his hands settling on her waist. "Talk to me." "I'm scared," she admitted, leaning back against him. "Tomorrow determines everything. If the accords fail, our people drift further apart. And us." Her voice caught. "They could invalidate the soul tether as politically inconvenient. Then we prove them wrong." Jeren turned her to face him, his hands framing her face. "Show them what we've already shown your father. That this isn't just tradition or politics, it's real." Savara's eyes shimmered with unshed tears. "You're supposed to be the logical one. The scientist who doesn't believe in mystical bonds. I believe in what I can observe and measure." His thumb traced her cheekbone. "And I observe that you make me feel things I didn't know I could feel. I measure my happiness in the moments I spend with you." He smiled. "That's data I can't ignore." Her laugh was watery but genuine. "You're ridiculous. And you're extraordinary." Savara pulled him closer, her kiss urgent and seeking. Jeren responded with equal intensity, walking her backward until they reached the cushioned seating area. She pulled him down beside her, their bodies fitting together with an ease that felt inevitable. "Stay with me tonight," she whispered against his mouth. "Not just because of the bond. Because I want you here. There's nowhere else I'd rather be." They explored each other slowly, reverently. Jeren marveled at how her skin warmed beneath his touch, how colors rippled across her in waves of gold and rose. Savara traced the contours of his shoulders, his chest, learning him with her fingers and lips. Each kiss grew deeper, each touch more certain. "Your people," Jeren murmured between kisses to her throat, "do they have customs about this part?" Savara's breathless laugh vibrated against his lips. "The bonding isn't complete until we choose to fully connect. Mind, body, soul." Her hand slid beneath his shirt, and Jeren's breath hitched. "Are you choosing me, Jeren Moss?" "Every moment." He captured her mouth again, pouring everything he felt into the kiss. "Every breath." They moved together in the dimness, lit only by the floating lights that pulsed in time with Savara's emotions, gold and rose and radiant white. When they finally joined, Jeren felt something click into place, Not just physically but deeper, as if their souls had been waiting for this moment to truly recognize each other. Later, as they lay tangled together, Sivara's head on his chest and her luminescence a soft, contented glow, Jeren realized that somewhere along the way, he'd stopped questioning the bond and started simply living it. "Tomorrow we face the council," Sivara murmured sleepily. "Tomorrow we face them together," Jeren corrected, pressing a kiss to her hair. "And we show them what the future looks like." The dawn of unity. They emerged from the star caves as three suns rose over Veloria, casting the crystalline city in spectacular light. Word of their location had spread, and the plaza before the palace teemed with thousands. Council members, citizens, guards, all waiting to see how this unprecedented crisis would resolve. Xylith stood at the top of the grand stairs, Ryan beside her, their hands clasped tightly. Her patterns blazed defiant gold, and through their bond, Ryan felt her fear transmuted into courage. "People of Veloria," her voice rang out, amplified by the palace's acoustic crystals. "You know me as your queen. You've trusted me to lead with wisdom and strength. Today, I ask you to trust me once more, to hear a truth that was buried 5,000 years ago." The crowd murmured uncertainly. Thaction pushed forward, flanked by guards. "This is not a truth but a corruption. She has bonded with an inferior species and carries an abomination." "You call it corruption," Xylith countered, her voice steady. "I call it the Lumini bond, a connection so profound that our ancestors feared it enough to erase it from history. But the star caves remember. The ancient texts remember. And they tell a different story." She gestured, and loyal palace technicians projected images from the cavern archives. Holographic records of past bonded pairs, of Lumini heirs who had united warring species, of an era when love transcended artificial boundaries. "Our child is not the first," Xylith continued. "Throughout history, the Lumini bond has chosen pairs across species, creating children who became bridges between worlds. Each time, those in power suppressed the truth because it threatened their control. Because if beings can love across all boundaries, then walls of prejudice crumble." "Lies!" Thaction shouted. "Fabrications to justify her weakness." "Then explain this." Ryan stepped forward, his voice carrying surprising authority. "Explain why the moment we touched, ancient systems activated. Why our bond appears in records your own ancestors kept but buried. Explain why your healers confirm our child exists in a way your science says is impossible. Because you've corrupted our queen with human manipulation." "Enough." Xylith's patterns flared brilliant crimson, royal fury. "I am your queen, but I am also a woman. And I choose love over fear. I choose truth over comfortable lies. I choose a future where my child can exist without shame." "Then you choose to abandon your throne," Thaction declared. He raised his weapon, aimed directly at Ryan. "And we choose to end this corruption permanently." The shot never landed. A sphere of golden light erupted from Xylith's abdomen, expanding outward to surround both her and Ryan. The energy bolt struck the barrier and dissipated harmlessly. The crowd gasped collectively. "The child," someone whispered. "The Lumini heir protects them." Thaction fired again, then others joined him, a dozen energy weapons discharged simultaneously. Each shot vanished against the golden barrier, which pulsed with serene power. Through their bond, Ryan felt their child's consciousness clearly now, protective, loving, already impossibly aware. "You see." Xylith's voice rang with triumph and wonder. "Our child is not a mistake. It is proof that some bonds are meant to be, regardless of what laws or prejudices say otherwise. The universe itself chose us." The barrier expanded further, washing over the crowd in a wave of warm golden light. Ryan watched in amazement as it touched each person, and their expressions shifted, anger softening to wonder, fear melting into curiosity. Through his bond with Xylith, he understood. Their child was sharing the bond's essence, letting everyone feel a fraction of what he and Xylith experienced together. Understanding. Acceptance. Love that transcended difference. An elderly Celestian woman in the crowd stepped forward, her patterns shifting toward silver. I felt it. The connection. The truth of what you share." She looked around at her neighbors. How can we call this wrong when it feels so right? Others murmured agreement. The crowd's hostility was transforming into something else, not quite acceptance yet, but openness. Willingness to reconsider. Thaction lowered his weapon slowly, his expression conflicted. This is not what the council anticipated. Because you anticipated based on fear, not truth, Xylith said, her voice gentler now. I understand that fear. Change is terrifying, especially when it challenges everything we've believed. But our ancestors made a choice born from that fear, and it has cost us millennia of potential unity with other species. How many conflicts could have been avoided? How many lives saved? How much beauty lost because we refused to acknowledge that love knows no boundaries? She descended the stairs slowly, Ryan beside her, the golden barrier still surrounding them. The crowd parted, creating a path. When she reached Thaction, she stopped. I don't ask you to abandon caution, she said. I ask you to abandon prejudice. To let our child, and any Lumini heirs who may come after, prove what harmony between species can achieve. Give us a chance to show you a better way. Thaction stared at her for a long moment, then slowly, painfully, he bent his head. You are still my queen. And perhaps wisdom means knowing when old certainties must be questioned. It wasn't perfect acceptance. But it was a beginning. Over the following days, Xylith and Ryan worked tirelessly to reshape Veloria's future. They opened the Star Caves to scholars and historians. They invited human delegations to meet with Celestian leaders as equals. And they prepared for their child's birth, which everyone now understood would mark a new era. 3 months later, in a ceremony attended by both species, their daughter was born. She emerged glowing like a living star, her skin a perfect blend of Xylith's luminescence and Ryan's human warmth. She had her mother's eyes but her father's smile. And when she opened those eyes for the first time, every being present felt the wave of pure love and potential radiating from her. Lionel, Xylith whispered, cradling their daughter. Our light. Our bridge. Our hope. Ryan wrapped his arms around them both, his heart so full he thought it might burst. Through their bond, now permanently threefold, including their daughter, he felt Xylith's joy, her exhaustion, her fierce maternal love, and beneath it all, her enduring love for him. We did it, he murmured. Against all odds, we created something beautiful. We created a future, Xylith corrected, her patterns glowing soft pink and gold, love and hope intertwined. And this is only the beginning. Standing on the balcony that had once been hers alone, watching both Celestian and human children play together in the gardens below, Xylith leaned into Ryan's embrace. Their daughter dozed between them, her tiny patterns already showing her unique personality. Curious rose gold, a color that had never existed before her. Do you ever regret it? Ryan asked softly. What you gave up? The certainty of the life you had before. Xylith looked up at him, her eyes reflecting the light of 3 setting suns. I gave up nothing. I gained everything. Before you, I was alone in a crowd, powerful but empty. Now I have you. I have Lionel. I have purpose that feeds my soul instead of just my duty. I love you, he said, kissing her temple. More than I have words for in any language. Then show me, she whispered, her patterns flaring playful amber. When Lionel sleeps tonight, show me in the ways that need no words. He grinned against her hair. Your Majesty is quite demanding. Your Majesty is quite in love, she corrected, turning in his arms to kiss him properly. And intends to demonstrate that thoroughly once our daughter gives us a few hours of peace. Below them, Veloria sparkled in the fading light, a city transformed, a people evolving, a future being born. And at the heart of it all, 2 unlikely lovers who had dared to believe that destiny could be found in the most unexpected touch, and that love powerful enough to challenge empires could grow from a single moment of selfless courage. Their story would be told for generations, the human emissary and the luminous queen who proved that some bonds are written in the stars themselves, waiting only for brave hearts to accept them. The end.